Story 1 Teen, the late-night jogger. I never thought a simple habit like jogging could turn into something so disturbing. I'm 28, live in a quiet town in Oregon, and I've always been a night owl. After working a stressful job as a junior architect, my favorite way to unwind was going for a run on the trail behind my house. It's a 2-mile loop through the woods, nothing fancy, just packed dirt, thick trees, and the occasional raccoon. I'd been doing it for years. It felt peaceful, even at night. The silence helped me think, and I liked how the trees made it feel like I was in a different world. I always brought my phone, mostly to track my run and play music. But I also kept a voice memo app running for safety, something my sister insisted on after I told her about the trail. One night, around mid-October, I left for my usual jog around 10:30 p.m. The air was crisp, and the moon was out but mostly hidden by clouds. The trailhead sits right at the edge of my backyard, so I laced up, stretched, and headed in with my phone's flashlight turned on. The first half-mile was uneventful. A few squirrels scattered into the underbrush, and I remember thinking how quiet it was. Even for that time of night. No wind, no owls, just the sound of my shoes against the dirt. About a mile in, I started to feel off. It wasn't fear, not yet, but that strange, instinctual tension, like someone watching you. I stopped, pulled out my earbuds, and stood still. Silence. Then, behind me, the sound of a twig snapping. I turned sharply, shining my flashlight into the woods. Nothing. I figured it was a deer, or maybe even a coyote, so I shook it off and kept running. That's when I noticed something weird: the footsteps. They were light, just a soft crunch on the dirt path, but they were definitely there. And they were matching my pace. I stopped suddenly. The sound stopped too. I turned around, my light sweeping through the trees, but all I saw were shadows. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was an echo, or the sound of my own shoes bouncing back somehow. I don't know. I was grasping for anything that made sense. But then I started moving again, slower this time, and the footsteps returned. Right behind me. I turned and shouted, "Hey! Who's there?" Silence again. I waited, scanning the trees. My breath was visible in the cold air. My heart was pounding harder than it should have been. Then I heard it, a soft, deliberate inhale. Someone, or something, was breathing behind me. Not loud, but close. I shone the flashlight behind me. Still nothing. That's when I ran. I didn't care how tired I was. I sprinted full speed, my arms pumping, legs burning, ears straining to hear if I was still being followed. The footsteps grew faster too, louder. That same steady crunch, 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 just behind me. And the breathing got louder, like it was right on my neck. I didn't dare look back. I just ran until the trail opened up into my backyard. I leaped across the grass, flung the back door open, and slammed it shut behind me. I stood there, chest heaving, trying to listen for any sound outside. Nothing. No footsteps, no breathing. Still, I locked every door and window in the house. I even pulled the curtains closed in every room, something I rarely do. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed on the couch, listening to the audio I'd accidentally recorded during my run. The voice memo was still going when I stopped at the door. I listened with headphones and maxed the volume. For the first 10 minutes, it was just my own breathing, my shoes against the path, the occasional rustle. Then, at around the 12-minute mark, right where I remember stopping and turning around, I heard it, a second set of footsteps, clear as day, slower than mine, but matching rhythm. Then came the breathing, low, deep, labored, and then something that made my blood run cold. A whisper. It was hard to make out at first, but I kept rewinding it, playing it over and over. A voice, not mine, whispered, "You're not alone." That was it. I played it again. Same whisper, same voice. I didn't know what to do. Who the hell had been out there with me? How did they stay hidden the entire time? The next day, I talked to a few neighbors. Nobody had seen anyone on the trail that night. One of them, Mrs. Clemens, who's lived here for over 40 years, told me something I'll never forget. "That trail's been bad since the 70s, she said. "A college girl disappeared out there. Folks say her spirit still wanders it, looking for help, or someone to take with her." I laughed it off at first, but later, I looked up old articles from our local archive. Sure enough, in 1978, a girl named Marissa Palmer went missing while jogging the same trail. Her body was never found. I haven't jogged at night since then. Hell, I barely go outside after dark. But sometimes, when the wind's quiet and the night is still, I swear I hear footsteps outside my window. Matching mine. Story Tudian, the man under the vents. I don't talk about this much, not even to my therapist. Mostly because it sounds insane, and I don't want people thinking I've lost it. But this happened when I was 22, right after I moved into my first solo apartment. It was a small studio unit on the second floor of an older building in Pittsburgh. The kind of place that had charm. Exposed brick walls, creaky wooden floors, and air vents that looked like they hadn't been cleaned since the 80s. But I didn't care. It was cheap, and it was mine. The first week was fine. The usual moving headaches. Setting up the Wi-Fi, unpacking boxes, getting used to the creaks and groans of the building. I started noticing strange things by the end of week 2. Nothing major, just small stuff. My toothpaste tube would be squeezed from the middle when I always roll from the bottom. The fridge door would be slightly ajar when I was sure I closed it. A drawer half open that I knew I hadn't touched. At first, I figured I was just being forgetful. That changed the night I heard scratching. It was around 2:00 a.m. and I was half asleep when I heard what sounded like nails dragging along metal. Slow, deliberate. It was coming from the air vent just above my bed. I froze, listening. Scratch, scratch, tap, tap, tap. Then nothing. I got up, turned on all the lights, grabbed a chair, and stood up to look inside the vent with my phone's flashlight. Dust, cobwebs, nothing else. Still, the sound had me uneasy. I texted my landlord the next morning, asking if any animals could have gotten into the vents. He brushed it off as probably squirrels, and said maintenance would check it out. They never did. A few nights later, I woke up to the sound of breathing. Heavy, raspy, like someone trying to stay quiet. Again, it was coming from the vent. I didn't move. I just stared at it, heart pounding, too scared to even breathe. Then came a voice. A low whisper, right from the vent above my bed. "You awake?" I screamed and fell off the bed, grabbing my phone to call 911. But when the police arrived, there was no one in the apartment. They checked the entire unit, even the crawl space above the ceiling tiles in the hallway. Nothing. Still, I swore I heard that voice. I wasn't dreaming. I didn't sleep for the next 2 nights. I moved my bed to the other side of the room, away from the vent. I even taped a towel over it, just to block it out. But the noises didn't stop. They just changed. Instead of scratching and whispers, I started hearing shifting, like someone was crawling above my ceiling or inside the walls. Slow, dragging movements. I tried blasting white noise, music, podcasts. Nothing helped. Then, one night, while brushing my teeth, I looked up and saw something in the mirror that made my blood turn cold. The vent in the hallway, the small one near the bathroom, had 2 fingers sticking out of it. Pale, dirty, motionless. I spun around, but they vanished before I could even react. I didn't sleep that night either. I texted my landlord again, demanding they send someone to check the ventilation system. He brushed me off again, saying, "There's no way a person could fit in there." But that didn't explain what I saw. I started sleeping with a knife next to my bed. Paranoid. Maybe. But I wasn't taking chances. Then, things escalated. I woke up one night to find the towel I had taped over the vent on the floor. Not just fallen, ripped off. The tape was still on the wall, but the towel had been shredded. I turned on all the lights and sat on the floor with my back to the wall, holding the knife. That's when I heard it again. The voice. This time, clearer, right above me. Don't move. It came from the ceiling vent, like someone crouching above me, watching. I bolted, left my apartment barefoot, ran 2 blocks to a 24-hour diner, and sat there until sunrise. I called my friend Mark, and he helped me go back in the morning. We searched the entire place. Nothing. But we did notice something. One of the vents in the closet had been unscrewed. Just slightly. That was it for me. I packed my essentials, moved in with Mark, and told the landlord I was breaking the lease. He tried to fight me on it until I sent him a long email with all the reports and 911 calls I'd made. He gave up pretty quickly after that. A few weeks later, I got a call from a detective. They wanted to ask me some questions about the apartment. Apparently, a maintenance worker had gone to clean out the ducts and found something horrifying. Someone had been living in the vents. A man, mid-40s, thin enough to crawl through the ventilation shafts, had been squatting in the building for over a year. They found a small compartment hidden in the ceiling above the closet, with a sleeping bag, food wrappers, water bottles, and even a journal. And here's the worst part. He had been watching me. The journal contained detailed notes, not just about me, but about other tenants too. He wrote down what time I got home, what I wore, when I showered, what I ate. One entry said, "She looks scared." Good. She knows I'm here. They arrested him, obviously. Turns out he had a long history of mental illness and trespassing charges. He was homeless, and somehow, he found a way to live in the crawl space between the floors, accessing rooms through the vent system. He never hurt anyone. But that hardly matters. Knowing that someone was inches above me, watching me sleep, whispering through the vents, that ruined me. It's been years since then. I moved across the country, got therapy, and started over. But I still sleep with a nightlight. And I still check every vent in every place I live. Because I know now, it's not just ghost stories or urban legends. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's lurking in the dark. It's who's living just out of sight. Story 3. The Collar in the Fog. I used to work as a night dispatcher for a small town emergency service in northern Oregon. We were the only line between the people and help after midnight, especially during storms when roads were impassable and police coverage was minimal. We weren't a busy town. Most nights were dead silent. And I'd pass the hours reading books or playing Sudoku, in between the occasional call about a loose dog or a drunk driver heading out of the bar. But there was one night I can't forget. I can't explain it, either. I've gone over it again and again in my head, and even though it happened years ago, I still think about it every time the fog rolls in. It was October 15th. I remember because it was a Friday, and it had been foggy all day, thick, wet fog that swallowed headlights and blanketed the trees in the surrounding forest. By midnight, visibility was nearly zero. Around 12:43 a.m., the phone rang. 911 dispatch. What's your emergency? There was silence for a few seconds, and then I heard breathing. Shaky, rapid breathing, like someone had been running. Hello, can you hear me? I asked again. Then a voice. Quiet. Male. Maybe a teenager or someone in their early 20s. He's here. Who's there? Can you tell me your location? In the trees. He followed me. He doesn't have eyes, but he sees. Chills ran down my spine. Sir, I need you to calm down. Are you in danger? What's your name? The line went dead. I tried redialing, but it was a blocked number. Standard protocols kicked in. I called the sheriff's department and told them we might have someone lost or in distress in the woods. They said they'd send out Deputy Miller to sweep the nearby trails. Less than 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. Same number. 911 dispatch. Are you safe? Heavy breathing. Then, he's closer now. I can hear him. Bones cracking. I heard twigs snapping over the line. My hands were sweating. I typed furiously to update the sheriff's log, and I flagged it for immediate action. Where are you? Give me a landmark. I see a tower. Firewatch tower. It's broken. It's watching me now. That was the old Firewatch post out by Dead Pine Ridge, abandoned years ago after a storm took the stairs out. It was 30 minutes out of town by road and a good hour through the woods by foot. Not many people knew how to get there. I radioed Miller, who said he was already heading down Ridge Road and would turn off toward the tower. Then I got another call. Same number. No voice this time, just a strange, warbling sound, almost like a distant siren underwater. Then something new, a second voice, this one deeper, raspy. You can't help him. It sounded like it was speaking through a mouthful of water. And then, click. This time, I felt true fear. Not for the caller, but for myself. The voice felt like it was directed at me. I updated Miller, but he didn't respond. Static. Then his radio crackled and cut. For the next 20 minutes, I sat there, staring at the door, heart racing, waiting for Miller to radio back. Then the line rang again. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer it. But I did. More breathing. Then the young man's voice again. He's gone. Woo. Who is he? A long pause. He wore your face tonight. Said your name. Click. I called every available deputy. Miller was eventually found 2 hours later, unconscious in his vehicle. Car had swerved off the road near the ridge. No injuries. No memory of what happened. His dashcam was missing. The old tower, empty. The stairs had collapsed years ago. No sign anyone had been there. We never traced the calls. A few weeks later I quit, moved out of town. But sometimes when the fog rolls in, I get a call. Unknown number, same breathing, same silence. I don't answer anymore. I just let it ring.